I can't live without you, Dad." Those words, delivered with raw emotion by David Caprio, echoed through the Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul in Providence as mourners gathered to say farewell to Judge Frank Caprio. The retired Providence Municipal Court Chief Judge, who became internationally recognized through the television program Caught in Providence, died on August 20th at the age of 88 after a battle with pancreatic cancer. His funeral service drew hundreds in person and thousands more online, united by admiration for a man whose approach to justice earned him a reputation as one of the kindest judges in America. The service was both a private family moment and a public event. The Caprio family invited the community to attend, reflecting the openness with which Judge Caprio had lived his life. In the cathedral, the atmosphere was solemn as hymns filled the air. Rhode Island leaders, court officials, local residents, and people who had traveled long distances joined his family to honor his legacy. The turnout reflected the reach of his influence, extending far beyond Providence and across international borders. When David Caprio rose to speak, silence fell over the room. With visible grief, he expressed what many in the family were feeling, the deep void left by his father's passing. His statement, "I can't live without you, Dad," captured both the intensity of personal loss and the public recognition that Judge Caprio's absence would be felt by all who admired him. David also shared his father's final words of guidance passed on in his last days. "Take care of each other, keep the family close, and help people if you can." Those words summarize the values that shaped Caprio's judicial philosophy and his personal life. Frank Caprio's story began in Providence in 1936. He grew up in the Federal Hill neighborhood, the son of Italian immigrants. His father worked as a fruit peddler and later as a milkman. Though his family had limited financial means, Caprio often recalled the generosity of his father, who continued to deliver milk to families who could not pay. These lessons in compassion, learned in childhood, became a defining part of his character. Caprio pursued education while supporting his family. He served in the Army Reserve, became a teacher of history, and later studied law. His commitment to public service led him into politics, where he served on the Providence City Council. In 1985, he was appointed to the Providence Municipal Court. His courtroom style soon distinguished him from others. The turning point in his public profile came when his brother began recording court sessions for local access television. These recordings highlighted not only the outcomes of cases, but also the manner in which Caprio engaged with those who appeared before him. Unlike many judges, he asked questions about personal circumstances and listened carefully before making decisions. What began as local programming eventually grew into the syndicated show Caught in Providence, which aired nationally in 2018. The program gained international recognition when clips from the courtroom began circulating online. Viewers were struck by Caprio's ability to balance the letter of the law with an understanding of human circumstances. In one case, a man cited for speeding explained that he was rushing to take his sick child to the doctor. Rather than impose a fine, Caprio dismissed the ticket and expressed sympathy. In another case, a single mother explained her financial hardship, and he forgave her fines while encouraging her to focus on her family. These cases, simple in nature, highlighted an approach rooted in empathy. Caprio became known worldwide as the nicest judge in America. His courtroom decisions were discussed in classrooms, workplaces, and homes across continents. People wrote to him from Europe, Asia, and Africa, thanking him for demonstrating that justice could also be humane. His reputation brought pride to Providence and to Rhode Island, where he was celebrated not only as a judge, but also as an ambassador of goodwill. His professional life was not limited to the courtroom. Caprio continued to engage in community service, supported educational initiatives, and mentored young people considering careers in law and public service. He remained active in civic life, attending community events even after retiring in 2023. His influence extended into charitable work, where he lent his name and time to causes that aligned with his lifelong values of fairness and kindness. Caprio's diagnosis of pancreatic cancer was made public in December 2023. From a hospital bed, he recorded a message to his supporters. In that video, he spoke directly about his condition and asked for prayers. His message was straightforward, reflecting his honesty and humility. Supporters responded with an outpouring of encouragement, sending messages from around the world. Even as his health declined, Caprio continued to provide updates, thanking those who kept him in their thoughts. His final social media posts showed him in the hospital, smiling and expressing gratitude. He never abandoned his role as a communicator, even in illness. To the end, he remained consistent in his message: gratitude for support, belief in the power of kindness, and humility in the face of personal struggle. When his death was announced, official tributes poured in. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee described him as a state treasure. Flags were lowered to half-staff in his honor. The Providence Municipal Court formally renamed its main courtroom as the Chief Judge Frank Caprio Courtroom, ensuring his legacy would remain visible in the institution he served for nearly 4 decades. Personal tributes were equally moving. Actor Lou Diamond Phillips wrote that he was heartbroken by the news, describing Caprio as iconic and legendary. Actor Matty Carteropple, who had shared time with him on the set of Reservation Dogs, wrote that Caprio lived the way you should, with a light heart, no ego, not jaded, interested. To Carteropple, his presence was unforgettable, a reflection of wisdom and humor. For those who attended his funeral, the most memorable moments came from his family. His sons, Frank Jr. and David, described their father not only as a public figure, but as a guiding force in their lives. Their words emphasized his dual identity, a respected judge and a devoted family man. David's statement, "I can't live without you, Dad," resonated because it reflected both the grief of a son and the grief of a community. Judge Caprio's legacy extends beyond personal stories. His career demonstrated that authority can be exercised with fairness and that judicial power does not have to be harsh to be effective. In his courtroom, individuals were not reduced to case numbers. They were people whose stories mattered. His approach challenged stereotypes about the justice system and inspired others to consider how compassion could be integrated into authority. Educational institutions have taken note of his example. Law students and young lawyers frequently cited Caprio's cases as reminders that the practice of law is not only about rules, but also about understanding human lives. His influence will continue in classrooms and training programs where future judges and lawyers are encouraged to consider his approach. The final farewell at the Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul was not only a ritual of mourning, but also a celebration of a life devoted to service. The cathedral, with its history and grandeur, provided a setting that matched the significance of Caprio's contributions. Hymns, prayers, and eulogies combined to honor both the man and the message he left behind. As the service concluded, many reflected on his last words: "Take care of each other, keep the family close, and help people if you can." These instructions were not only for his family, but for all who admired him. They summarized a philosophy that transcended the courtroom and reached into everyday life. Frank Caprio's story remains an example of how personal values can shape professional conduct. From his childhood in Federal Hill to his role as a judge recognized around the world, his path was marked by humility, resilience, and service. His death at 88 ends a remarkable chapter, but the lessons he taught endure. The words spoken by his son David, "I can't live without you, Dad," will remain the most poignant memory of the farewell. They reflect the depth of personal loss, but also the collective sense of absence felt by those who saw in Judge Caprio a symbol of humanity in authority. His influence will continue, carried forward by his family, his community, and the countless people inspired by his example.